This week's Mustang Monday, windows. Pulled the quarter panel windows out of the box that I had. Some of the work had already been done, but I went through and ground all the rust off of the plates and took the chrome. A lot of the chrome was pitted and rusty. As far as I'm aware, these might be the original factory windows. I'm not 100% sure. I think I'm owner 2 or 3 on this car. So they may have replaced them, but they may not have. Chrome was in some pretty nasty shape, and they had been taped up many years ago, and the tape was still on it. So, yeah, anyways, it took a little bit of work to do. Right now, they're primered and rattle canned enamel black, gloss enamel black. That's what they're going to be for the tour if this car makes it, because I'm not going to go through and paint them or re-chrome them. Too expensive. I will buy new windows for the car eventually. But for right now, I still need to replace the weather stripping and the rollers. I've got those parts on order. As soon as they're here, I will put them all together, and then I'm going to set the window panels aside while I finish up the rest of the car, because if I have to put the car back up on the rotisserie, I don't want to have to worry about the extra weight from the windows and stuff like that. Hopefully I won't have to put the car back up on the rotisserie, though. We will see. Got to get some grease the channels, and like I said, should be ready to put everything back together. The regulators, which are already packed away, they turn just fine by hand. They work well. They're nice and cleaned up. They're rust free. They were actually in really, really good shape. So I just shot a can of enamel on them and called it a day. I think I'm going to work on a combination of things next, but I will probably go ahead and get the driver's side windows down. A good chunk of the first part of the tour takes place in the southeastern United States during the summertime, and, well, there's a really good likelihood of rain at least 1 or 2 of those days, I would expect, because, well, summertime in the southeastern United States, and that's what it does. It rains. It would be really, really unfortunate to try and drive this car in the rain. Hope I won't have to do that. Have a great week. The first thing I did was clean these things off a little bit with some Windex, just to make sure that there was no hidden cracks in the glass that rendered them unserviceable before I even bothered getting started. When I had them cleaned up enough that I was confident that they were going to at least function, I started taking them apart. The rollers were all seized up and gummed up and nasty, so they had to be gently nudged with a hammer. So I got them apart, had a chance to inspect them even closer, and realized that the driver's side window was a little scratched and pitted. So I tried a gentle glass cleaner. That didn't work. I tried something a little bit more aggressive, and then something even more aggressive to see if I could get some of the pits and scratches out. It was mostly unsuccessful, but it's serviceable enough now that I can see out of it, and it doesn't look real terrible. One of the channels was bent a little bit, so I took a tool and straightened that out a little, so that enough that I could get the roller through it easily. Undid the screw in the weather stripping and then proceeded to tap it gently, sort of, out of the channel. I originally started off with a palm sander and some 100 grit paper, and after a few minutes realized that some of the worst places weren't going to be able to be done with just sandpaper. It was going to need a grinder. So I taped up the windows with painter's tape and duct tape to make sure that if I slipped, I didn't accidentally scar up the window even worse. I then hit everything with an angle grinder with a fairly aggressive little wheel on it, and once I had all of the pitting and stuff like that down, I gave it a light sand to remove any of the creases, and then painted it with a little bit of rattle can primer and then some gloss black enamel. The primer gloss black combination wasn't really my end goal for this car, but considering the fact that I've got a lot of stuff to do and very little time to do it, I just don't have the money or other stuff to be trying to get a hold of real automotive paint. So I'm just going to have to make do with gloss black and primer where I can. And the bumpers are probably going to end up the same way. Angle grinder and wire wheel cup. I started to work on the backing plates. These pieces were in pretty bad shape rust-wise. They're all solid. There's no damage or anything like that, but they were ugly. So I spent some time wire wheeling the rust away, and then worked the grease out of the old grease out of the channel with acetone. Then again, another can of rattle can primer, another coat of rattle can primer, and then I used aluminum enamel on this because they're going to be inside, so nobody's going to see them anyways. These were the panels that I really started missing my Mini Blaster. Ideally, these would have gotten mini blasted or sandblasted so that I didn't have to worry about rust any place that I couldn't get to it, but sometimes you just gotta make do with what you got. Well, not beautiful, but they'll work. And before I wrap this project up, I tested the regulators to make sure they regulate, and they do.